Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we have something quite exciting to test out. It's something I've been wanting to do for some time now, and as luck has it, my good friend Andy recently purchased this stunning Estoril Blue M140i. It's a late 2016 model, so it's pre-OPF, and it's a manual. We all know my car already, the M2 Competition, which is also a manual. But what I wanted to find out was which car is faster, not just in a basic drag race, but in terms of in-gear acceleration, because I do bang on about the brilliant B58 all the time and its low down torque. The M2 Competition has an S55, which is actually an older style motor. So although my car is almost 3 years newer than Andy's, it actually has an older generation motor, which was based on the N55, which originally came on the M135i, the original one. Let's do a quick refresher of the stats on both cars, starting with Andy's M140i. So this car has a B58 3-litre inline-6 turbocharged engine. BMW claim that produces 340 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque. The most important thing about those two figures is the 500 Newton meters of torque is available from just 1500 RPM. It weighs just under 1500 kilos in manual form, and it has a claimed 0 to 62 figure of 4.8 seconds. My M2 Competition, well, under the bonnet, that has an S55 engine, which is a very similar layout to the B58. It's a 3-litre inline-6, but it's a twin turbo. That produces 410 horsepower and 550 Newton meters of torque. So 70 horsepower up and 50 Newton meters of torque up. But the peak torque figure starts at 2,350 as opposed to 1,500. I know as a fact that if we took these both out on track, the M2 Competition would destroy the M140 everywhere. Whether it was Goodwood, Landau, Silverstone, it would be quicker. It's better on the brakes, it's got a better front end, it's got more mechanical grip. It's just a better car on track. So there's no doubting that. Obviously it also has the limited slip diff, which is very handy out of slower speed corners. I'm going to jump in the M140i first, chuck my race box in and log some 0 to 60 times and then a quarter-mile run before doing the same in my M2 Competition. And then Andy will jump in his M140i and I'll jump in my M2 Competition and we'll do some good old-fashioned drag races. But more importantly, after we've done the drag races, we'll do some in-gear pulls, because I really think that's where the little M140i underdog will shine. Okay, 0 to 60 runs in Andy's manual M140i. I'm going to dump the clutch at around 3,000 RPM. BMW claimed this would do the 0 to 62 sprint in 4.8 seconds. So let's see if we can duck underneath that. That's 3,000 RPM, and here we go. Bit of wheel spin. Bit of a chirp on second there. There we go, 4.7 seconds. Okay, so that's a tenth under, well, what they claim to 62. So that's about bang on, actually. Just try and control that wheel spin a bit, or I'll let it run into the limiter a little bit. 4.73, okay, well, that's consistently fast. Let's try it again. Let's try and control that wheel spin. And here we go. Okay, a little bit of a short shift there. 4.72 seconds. Well, I think it was 4.7, 4.75 or 76 and 4.72. At least me in the car, consistent. We had a little bit of wheel spin off the line there, but a little bit of wheel spin or chirp is always good on a drag race run, because you don't want the engine, etc., bogging down. I'm sure a better driver could maybe gain another tenth out of that, but I think that's not too bad whatsoever. let's head back and try out its quarter of a mile run times. Okay, let's try out the M140's quarter of a mile time into first gear. Again, we're going to launch around 3000 RPM. Here we go. A little bit of wheel spin, but that's actually not too bad for an acceleration run. It's 100 miles an hour. There we go. 13 dead. Quarter of a mile. Yes, I could have launched it maybe a little bit better, but I'm not sure what the claim is on this car. That's pretty impressive for a manual hatchback, isn't it? 13 seconds dead. I'm sure on a perfect run with better tyres you could probably do a 12.5, 12.6. I don't know, maybe you're attacking me in the comments already, but I think a 13 flat straight off the bat isn't bad at all. Okay, here we go in my M2 competition manual as well. Race box is ready, just like with the M140. We'll do, let's say, 3 0 to 60 runs, and then we'll come back and do a quarter of a mile run. Now, BMW claim this would do the 0 to 62 sprint in 4.4 seconds. It is quite cold outside, it's 10 degrees, and I've only got 14 and 20 degrees in the rear Cup 2s. And although Cup 2s are probably your ideal drag race tyre, they need to be in their 45 or 50 degree range to really give you that optimum grip. Let's try and control that wheel spin and not allow the S55 to bog down. It's a very fine balance in this car. It's not the best car or easiest car to launch. Okay, bog down a little bit. And there we go. 4.52 seconds, my first attempt. So it's about a tenth off what they claim, although that is to 60 miles an hour. So it's probably about 2/10 off what they claim. Let's try again. I think I can afford to give it a bit more revs. I let go of the clutch, so let's try about 4,000. Try not to smoke the rear tyres too much. No. That was just wheel spin and 5.06. Well, that was to be expected because it was just sitting there wheel spinning. It is really difficult in these conditions on these tyres. It really is. Obviously, if it was wet and even colder, it'd be much harder. But oh look, the temperatures are coming up a little bit in the rear, so let's try again. Oh, nice. Oh, sorry, gearbox. 4.12 seconds. There we go. There we go. Okay, I only had to destroy a couple of the cogs in the gearbox, but 4.12 to 60 miles an hour. If you add a tenth of that, because BMW claim it to 62, that's still 2/10 under what BMW claim. Let's see what this car will do the quarter of a mile in. Just got to pray that we get a good launch. Nice. Very nice launch. Very nice. Okay. Okay, big speeds, big speeds. That's 120. There we go, 12.57. So, nearly half a second quicker than the M140 down a quarter of a mile. That was a very good launch, by the way. That was much better, I think, than any of the 0 to 60 runs. But hey, it's a real life test, and yeah, it is what it is. We've obviously got a bit more heat or temperature in the rear tyres now. They're both showing 25, 26. But yeah, 12.5 seconds. Let's just stop and see what the race box says the terminal speed was. 115.4 miles an hour, so it's about 5.5 miles an hour quicker over the finish line. Okay, a traditional drag race. We know this car should win, but it'll be interesting all the same. Andy, just checking that you're good to go.
All good, thanks, mate.
3, 2, 1, go. Oh, bit wheel spin. There he is. Okay, I got a slightly better start than he did. And that's 130 miles an hour over the line. Okay, Andy, I reckon we do a rolling race on the way back. Let's do third gear from 30 miles an hour. I'll call you in once we're level and ready. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Interesting. Off the line, as soon as I said go, yours picked up so much quicker. I had to get to 120 odd miles an hour to catch up to you there. So in the real world, on the public road, it just shows that that car is a bit quicker. Three, 2, 1, go. Oh, it's closer this time. Two car lengths now as we're doing 120 miles an hour. And once again, that's 130 over the line. This car really starts to pull once it gets over 80, 90 miles an hour. But there's really not much in it. I seem to be getting slightly better starts than Andy, and that's probably completely down to the fact that I've been practicing with all the 0 to 60 and quarter mile runs. But yeah, the M140 certainly doesn't embarrass itself. Now what we'll do is fourth gear from 30 miles an hour, which is very unrealistic in the real world, but I just want to show, I think this should really demonstrate the low down torque of the mighty B58. So let's get up to 30 and then into fourth, and I'll call you in. 3, 2, 1, go. Look at that B58, look at it go. Okay, 70, 80, and I'm not losing anymore. 100, I'm reeling him in a bit. Come on. It's 110, 120. It's still fourth gear. Well, that was a graphic display of the mighty B58 torque. Okay, third time lucky. Let's see if Andy can get a slightly better launch. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, here we go. Here we go. There we go, 80, 90 miles an hour. And it really starts to pull, but okay, we're still just 1 car length, 2 car lengths, and that's 130 miles an hour. Well, there you go. When we get very similar starts, there's really not much in it up to about 60, 70 miles an hour. This car, once you engage third gear, it really gets into its own stride, and wow, it's quick from that point onwards. But that was really impressive and very visible. Right guys, hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I did and Andy did. We had a great time out there and it was really, really interesting. Ultimately, the M2 competition is a quicker car in a traditional drag race. And the main reason for that is actually the traction off the line. Wider, bigger rubber and the limited slip diff really do help you get off the line, although the S55, in my opinion, is trickier to get off the line in manual format. Where the mighty underdog of the M140i came into its own was that in-gear acceleration. And I'm so glad once again that I actually got to see that sitting in my M2 competition as Andy slowly disappeared into the distance down the runway. It just showed you that the low down torque of the B58 is really, really impressive and actually puts the S55 to shame. That's got 2 turbos on it, but yet it just doesn't spool up, doesn't find that torque quick enough. This car, on the other hand, absolutely does and fires off down the road. And if you're using both of these cars as a daily in your real world, if you like, it just shows you that the B58 is such an adaptable engine. You could be at 1500 RPM and you've got all that torque, but yet it does rev out, and over 5000 RPM it's still rewarding you, it still sings out. It's a lovely, lovely motor. So I found today very fascinating. Ultimately, the more powerful, more torquey M2 competition is faster, but if it's caught out in the wrong gear, if you're down your favourite A or B road and you're in 3rd or in 4th and just blatting between corners, this car is actually quicker in a straight line. Before we leave, I also want to point out the massive price difference. Now, Andy picked his M140i recently with the crazy price inflations that are going on at the moment for just under £20,000. My M2 competition manual with that sort of mileage on it is worth about 45 grand. So more than double the money, yet really only 5 or 10% at the most faster in a straight line. And I always say that if you want bang for buck in terms of straight line pace, the M140i or the M240i is such a good buy. If you put a small tune on that, like a JB Plus or Stage 1, I reckon it would be quicker than the M2 competition. And all of that for under 20 grand. Well, it's an absolute bargain. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed watching today's video. Massive thanks to my good friend Andy off camera for coming down, helping me with the filming, and also obviously letting me drive his M140i and then fundamentally driving it on camera. He tells me he didn't really say too much in the car, but I talk enough for England, so hopefully I've made up for that. I will see you guys at the next video coming very soon. Thanks for watching.